All right, here we go. Plant number 4, Corylus cornuta, variety californica, in the Betulaceae. That's Corylus, cornuta, var period californica, in the Betulaceae, betulaceae. California hazelnut. And California hazelnut is a shrub or a small tree. When it's a tree, it's kind of a multi-stem tree. You can see this one here is about 10 to 12 feet tall. And okay, it's got simple alternate leaves. And these leaves have a pretty cool characteristic that you see in a lot of Betulaceae, and that is that they're doubly serrate. And serrate just means toothed. And the reason that they're doubly serrate is that there are two kinds of patterns of toothing on this leaf margin. There's this one, which is very broad. And then those teeth are themselves toothed, right? With these little small serrations. And that characteristic of being doubly serrate is something you see in a lot of Betulaceae, including this particular species, Corylus cornuta, variety californica. Another thing you see on a lot of Betulaceae are these very straight secondary veins. And you can see how these, you have the mid vein here, primary vein, and then these are secondary veins, and they just go in a straight line from the mid vein to the middle of one of these teeth, these big teeth. Okay, and that's also another thing you see in a lot of Betulaceae. The most important characteristic on this particular species is the heart-shaped leaf base. You can see. Okay, the diagnostic character for this species is the cordate leaf base. You can see it's heart-shaped. That means cordate. Check it out. See how it comes out? It goes like that, just like you're making your little Valentine heart for your teacher when you're in grade school. All right, so that combination of doubly serrated leaves, heart-shaped base with these straight secondary veins, and then the fuzzy underside of the leaf, and the top side of the leaf too. There's a lot of fuzz on this leaf. It's very soft. You could definitely use this plant if you needed some toilet paper in the woods. This is another deciduous species. And another thing that you often notice on this plant is that these reproductive structures. These are compound flowers called catkins. So you see a lot of these catkins on a lot of Betulaceae. The fruits are hazelnuts, and very rarely do you find a hazelnut on the California hazelnuts, because I think what happens is the squirrels eat them almost immediately. They're very tasty. Unlike buckeyes and acorns, hazelnuts can just be eaten directly. You don't need to leach them or take out any chemicals before eating them. They're very tasty. If anyone's ever had a filbert or a European hazelnut, which are actually cultivated in Oregon and of course in Europe, and they're very tasty. The California hazelnuts taste pretty much identical to the filberts, really good. And this was an important plant for native Californians. Not only did they manage this plant for eating the hazelnuts, they also use the branches for wood. And one thing that's interesting about this plant is it comes back after fire really well. It sprouts from the base, and the shoots are really straight. So for basket making, anything where you need strong, flexible, straight pieces of wood, they would use the California hazelnut. So this plant is actually can be really, really old, even though it's not necessarily that huge. it lives kind of underground and it's clonal. So these plants spread sometimes over whole hillsides underground, and they send up new stems and new shoots. In fact, walking around, you very rarely see a little baby hazelnut that has been reproduced from seed. I think it takes a very long time actually for a baby plant to develop a really big root system. And so it's much more common to see shoots coming out of the ground. And this is one really interesting thing about California hazelnuts. They live basically in Northern California. So from basically Big Sur, northern tip of Big Sur, up the California coast, all the way into Oregon and Washington and British Columbia. And then they also live in the Sierra Nevada and the Cascades. And they get to the further south they get to is Sequoia National Park. And that's this particular entity that we call Corylus cornuta variety californica, which is more tree-like. Corylus cornuta variety cornuta lives in Western Canada and the northern plains and into Michigan and I think even maybe into Ontario. And it's always just a kind of a shrub that's very rarely taller than 5 feet or so. But it's the same species, but this is a different variety. And that's called the beaked hazelnut, and this is the California hazelnut. All right, just to sum up, California hazelnut is got simple alternate leaves. They're fuzzy on both sides. They are doubly serrated with straight secondary veins and a cordate leaf base. And you will find California hazelnut here in California generally close to streams. They definitely like to have water. You can find them either in full sun or in the shade.